Welcome to the official podcast where the bombs get thrown. I'm your host, May Shayla Bogan, and I introduce to you the Mike Bomb Podcast.
This is my night, this is my pain, this is my life, this is what I was born to do, I was born to do, every new day, every new night, every new stage, every new fight, this is what I was born to do, I was born to do, fall to my knees every night and I pray, asking Lord let him hear, I got something to say. There's a fear out there and it's coming your way. Don't let it stop you from living for what you were made. It's not a dream, it's a destiny.
All right, welcome to the Mike Bomb Podcast with your host, May Shayla, your host, Stacey J. Kayla's gonna hop on whenever she can, if she shows up today, but we got a lot to talk about. So this is just going to be a recap of Super Bowl because honestly, that game was just out of the park.
It was everything we expected it to be. And I am so glad that we weren't disappointed in that aspect. Like, I honestly don't think, clearly there's a winner and a loser, but we clearly one team has a Lombardi and one team doesn't. But Jalen Hurts has absolutely zero things to be disappointed about besides not hoisting the Lombardi or to be ashamed of. He put up over 300 yards, on top of his other stats. And it's just like, that boy played his heart. If he was playing anybody else, I guarantee you that probably would have been a dub. But it's just about that Chiefs Kingdom magic.
Yeah.
Listen, I've been joking since that AFC North game, whatever perk Patrick Mahomes was on, what kind of special stuff from Space Jam Patrick Mahomes was on, it was doing its thing. Because I saw a meme today that said Patrick Mahomes runs like a toddler that stole something. He does. He's all over that field and he just got the job done. And unfortunately, in this type of game, precision is key. So you can make one small error and it will change the entire outcome of the game, which is essentially what happened to the Eagles as Jalen Hurts' fumble ended up putting points on the board for the Chiefs. And that ended up being the difference.
Yeah. I don't know where to start with this game. Honestly, I really don't, because this game to me was arguably the best Super Bowl we saw since Super Bowl 45, 44? Actually, no. Super Bowl 46. That was the game the Giants and the Pats played. Or you could definitely argue San Francisco and Baltimore a few years ago back in 2013.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good one. But but this one, it was not only a great game, but it was a historic game because to all of you who don't know, this is the first ever Super Bowl in NFL history where two African-American quarterbacks were starting in a game facing off against one another. So the fact that happened, two of the finalists with the NFL MVP award this year. Speaking of which, one thing that's not getting highlighted enough is the fact that Patrick Mahomes joins the club of the Terry Bradshaws, the Kurt Warners, the Joe Montanas, and many more when he became what we talking, the 6th, 7th quarterback in NFL history, 6th or 7th player in NFL history to win both the league MVP and the Super Bowl MVP within the same year. And he's the first quarterback since Kurt Warner in 99 with the LA Rams to do so too. But more into the game, I think you can definitely walk away if you're the Eagles saying our future is bright, because let's just call it like it is. They were the first ever number one seed in a hot minute, you can say, that was practically playing with house money. No one came into this season and said the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the NFC East division. The Philadelphia Eagles is going to come in and win the NFC. No one was expecting that. But they surprised a lot of people and they woke a lot of people up. And the crazy thing about it, it's only the beginning for the Eagles. So
It
if
is.
I'm anyone in the NFC, I better shape it up, and I better shape it up quick, because this is a team who, if I'm not mistaken, has a draft pick, at least one draft pick in every single round in this year's NFL draft,
Mm-hmm.
including 3 first rounders.
Yeah.
Three, not one, not two, but three. That right there causes danger, because they arguably have the best front office in the NFL right now. General manager, assistant general manager, talent scouts, etc. Without question, even though they did just lose their offensive coordinator to the
And the
Indianapolis
defensive
Colts,
coordinator as well, too, right?
I'm not even sure, but I know their offensive coordinators now. The new OC for I mean, not OC, but
Arizona.
head coach for the Indianapolis Colts. They're definitely. It might look a little different, but I say they lost him at the right time, because you don't want to lose a great coordinator like that with your quarterback being underdeveloped. But that is nowhere near Jalen Hurts'
Issue at all.
it's
And the
nowhere near
only
his
other
usual
hiccup
play.
they will have is if they can't come into an agreement on how much they are going to pay Jalen Hurts, which
They're
is
gonna pay him the bank.
going to,
They're gonna
which
pay
is
him
going
the bank. They have to. He's young. He's hungry. He's willing to win. He's willing to do anything for it. He's the franchise. Let's call it like it is. You wouldn't have the offense you have if it wasn't for who was playing quarterback. So I think with that, I don't even see the Jalen Hurts situation with the Eagles getting as far as Lamar Jackson's did with the Baltimore Ravens. I don't see it getting like that, because one, it's not like the Eagles to me to not pay their players. That's number one. Number two, even though they did have Nick Foles and Carson Wentz, they were not as reliable in this offense as Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts to me is a diamond in the rock for the Eagles. No one looked at Jalen Hurts and was like, he's going to be a top 10 or top 5 or top 3 quarterback in the league when he first came out of, Alabama and was drafted to the Eagles. No one saw that, but he made everyone see that. And when you make someone see that, it's going to be hard to let someone like that walk, especially with these quarterbacks that are now coming out, but I really don't see the hype about. I honestly feel teams like the Steelers got lucky with getting their hands on Kenny. I think when you do things like that, you're pretty good. But back to the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes, without question, played a phenomenal game. He did everything you want him to do. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, over maybe not what usually Patrick Mahomes numbers, which is like 200, 300 yards, but he went for 182, 21 for 27, and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And obviously he won his second MVP within the past 3 Super Bowl trips. And not only that, but he also won his second league MVP as well. So when you win your second Super Bowl MVP and your second league MVP within a 3-4 year span, I don't think it's going to be really hard for someone else to come on his level and for him to not be sitting on top of that throne by himself in this era. Even if another quarterback was to come and win 2 Super Bowls just like he did, where's the MVPs at? Where's all of this at? Where's all of that at? It's going to be hard. And honestly, you could say he was faking all you want. You could say this, but not one person who called Patrick Mahomes out for faking an injury will get their ass out there and play on that injury, even if it was real. Even if their eyes, that injury was real. No one. And what they don't understand is the physicians that the pro leagues have, we don't have. Even if you do have insurance or whatever, you don't pay enough to have those physicians. Those are some of the highest paid physicians in the world. That means they're going to have access to things that us normal people are not going to have. One, because they don't feel we need it, because we're not them. We're not people who's asked to play 60 minutes of football with an injury on the highest level in the game that you could, in that sport, in my opinion, that you can, and be asked to win your team another title. Patrick Mahomes he delivered. But you got to give Travis Kelce his credit too. You got to give him his love.
Trav,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You gotta go
like
in the
he
club.
is redefining the word clutch. He is
And
redefining the
the
word
position tight
reliable
end. And a position tight end. Don't
and a
forget
position
that.
tight end. They're already throwing out the question or the notion that he is coming for Gronk's place as the best tight end in
I
QB,
think he needs one more Super Bowl to solidify
and
that.
he's going to get it. Like,
Most likely. Even
yeah,
if
and
they
Travis
don't
is
get
that
it this
guy.
year, this season coming up, they'll get it within the next 3 to 4 years. They don't need to win all of theirs now.
Yeah.
I'm not telling them not to. The opportunity, they'll take it. But they don't need to win another one right now. But are they? We'll wait and see. But it's a great chance. They have the greatest chance because no matter who they gain, who they lose, they find ways to win. And that right there defines championship caliber team. And that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Without question. Say the referees, say whatever. Mahomes faked the injury, use any excuse in the book, but this is the same thing we saw from them in the previous 2 seasons, which is why they are who they are. It's no question at this rate. And if you questioning that, you're just dumb in my
You're a
opinion.
hater. You're not even dumb. You're a hater.
You're
Like,
dumb. You're
let's
dumb. You
get
can't question
over
this.
it.
You cannot question this at the end of the day. Okay, when Patrick Mahomes came into the league, who looked at Patrick Mahomes and said he's going to be a Super Bowl champion? He would be the problem for opposing defenses or opposing teams that he is right now. Who said that? People may have said that about Joe Burrow, but they did not say that about Patrick Mahomes. They did not say that. They did not. No, Patrick had to come into the league and show everybody that one, I'm here. Two, I'm here to stay. And three, you're going to have to go through me if you want to get back there or get there at all in order to win it. And when you're there, you better win it. Otherwise, I'll still be the guy to be. And that's exactly what these past 3 to 4 years with Kansas City, with their constant AFC championship runs, their constant Super Bowl runs, it's like under Patrick Mahomes, they were either in one or they were in the other. It was never anything lower than that. That right there, it's not just a Kansas City thing, but it's a Patrick Mahomes thing. And you have to give him the credit when it's due. Like, when did we ever see this type? Okay, I'm going to tell you the quarterbacks that you said this about in their early careers. Tom Brady, Big Ben. That's it. In the past 20 years in the AFC, you hardly said it about Peyton because Peyton did not have the best postseason record. He was considered by many a choke artist, whatever. And then you have Phillip Rivers, who just didn't have the best luck with the Chargers in his beginning of his career. And then it was just everyone else just couldn't keep up. Patrick Mahomes is the Tom Brady to me of this quarterback era. I ain't gonna say he's Tom Brady like level just yet, because we all know it's gonna take a hell of a lot of years, a hell of a lot more touchdowns, and a hell of a lot more winning on a consistent basis, which he has a great shot right now of doing. I ain't gonna say that he's not gonna do it, because who the hell am I to predict the future with a quarterback like that in a negative way? Nobody. I don't think anyone could. But all of this being said, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna say about the AFC behind the Chiefs this year. I have a good feeling of who's gonna be the team to be able to keep up with the Chiefs, but it ain't the team that everybody's picking. That's what I'm gonna say. But the Super Bowl, hell of a game. I don't think the Eagles have anything to be ashamed of, because Jalen Hurts did not play that bad of a game. Let me remind you, he threw for over 300 yards, like you said. He also had a touchdown, a throwing touchdown. He did have 3 rushing. And he had about 44 yards of rushing yards within those 3 touchdowns. So I think Jalen Hurts played his ass off. I think the offense for the Eagles played their asses off. But the defense, on the other hand, for the Philadelphia Eagles, and particularly their secondary, let the Eagles down. No question. You let Juju get open anytime he practically wanted. I don't know what the hell the scheme was with Travis Kelce. Like, I don't know why, out of all people, you would leave that guy in La La Land by himself to do whatever the hell he wants.
And honestly, he's like Patrick Mahomes' number one target. So I don't
Who
understand where the breakdown
number
and
one target wouldn't
communication
he be?
came with that. Like, honestly, I would have tested Juju a whole lot more.
Yeah.
I don't think he's been to a Super Bowl yet. How is he going to respond being on this big stage? Make him prove it to you. You don't take the chance and leave Travis Kelce as open as he was throughout the game.
And then you left Juju open doing whatever the hell he wanted anytime he wanted. And it's like you was just letting anybody from Kansas City get open. Now, I'm not taking nothing away from the Chiefs and what they did. They capitalized on their stupidity and their lack of execution on defense. Patrick Mahomes did what Patrick Mahomes is expected to do and more, period. And vice versa with Travis Kelce, you could definitely argue Juju because people don't look at Juju as much of a threat as they looked at Tyreek Hill. Hence the reason why a lot of people, and I must say a lot of people were stupidly wrote off the Kansas City Chiefs. They wrote them off. They said they wouldn't make the playoffs. They said they wouldn't be this. They wouldn't be that. I don't get how the hell you could see that because I did not see no one.
Not the girl.
Listen, I tell you what, I saw the Chargers placing second. I saw the Chargers placing second behind them, and I said, if they get past the Chargers in that AFC West division, everyone else just move the hell out the way. That's what I said, because I don't see any other quarterback just walking into that division and be able to keep up with Patrick Mahomes. I don't see the better shot than Justin Herbert in that division, and that's how I'm gonna look at it for at least the next 5 to 10 years. It's just straight like that because when you are that type of caliber player, it's going to be hard for anyone to keep up with you. That's what is in everyone's mind. It's like, okay, we're either going to, especially in AFC, we're either going to have a defensive player to keep up with Patrick Mahomes, or at least draft enough players to a point that we can neutralize Patrick Mahomes, or we're going to have to draft a quarterback that we know that can go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. And not only that, because we've seen throughout these years, going toe-to-toe with him is not good enough. And that was the story of this game. It wasn't good enough. You also have to neutralize him. And that's really been the problem, because I feel like the best opportunity to neutralize him is when he was hurt with that ankle, and back-to-back championship games, we haven't seen that. We have not seen Patrick Mahomes get neutralized, or at least get neutralized enough to prevent him from doing the things that he does best.
Correct. And also in that very controversial AFC championship game where the overtime call, over the game against the Bills, where the overtime call took the ball out of Kansas City's hand when they were pretty much about to go to overtime and do overtime rules, which led to the overtime rule change. Like, that wasn't even really on Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. So, of course, they came back the next year with a vengeance and everything. But he's not going to give you the opportunity to get him twice. He's not. And I'm sorry. Hold on just a moment for me.
You something else, Stacy. You something else.
Okay. I apologize about that. But yeah, so he's not going to give you the opportunity really to do it to you twice. And he had a spell moment and he came back. He played on that ankle and nothing was going to keep him from reaching that goal this time. I do see that you did put a few questions up on the screens for a few comments. We do have one from Marsalt who wants to know, Jalen Hurts was number 2 in NFL media's QB ranking. Do we agree? And if not, what place would you give him?
I agree. I actually agree with that. I don't see everyone wants to put Joe Burrow as number 2. I can't do that right now. I can't do that right now because here's the deal. What opportunity did Joe Burrow have this year that Jalen Hurts did not? Think about that. So when you say so it's like, okay, I'll put Burrow top 5. I don't know about top 3. Top 3 to me is a toss-up, but without question, he's in that conversation. But Jalen Hurts, without question, is number 2 in NFL's media because not only what he did, but the expectation behind it. You know what I'm saying? So when you do things as well as Jalen Hurts did. And honestly, if it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes, one, he will be the Super Bowl champion. He'll be a Super Bowl champion right now. He'll be the Super Bowl MVP. He'll be the league MVP, and he'll be the one joining that club where Kurt Warner and Terry Bradshaw and Joe Montana and Steve Young and all these other guys with being the, let's say, what was it? Like the fifth, the sixth, seventh quarterback to like ever win the league as Super Bowl MVP within that year. He would have had that if he did not have to play Patrick Mahomes. And when you have that in Jalen Hurts, you can't put nobody over him. Because if it wasn't going to be Patrick Mahomes, it would have been him without question. It would have been him.
Hurts. It would have absolutely been Jalen Hurts. So I actually do agree with Jalen Hurts. If you're talking about season by season, this season, Jalen Hurts absolutely was number 2. And the only time that probably would have been questioned is when he was battling that shoulder injury, and then he came back like nothing happened. So absolutely. And I do agree, Joe Burrow is a good quarterback, but he's definitely put up on a pedestal. And he's been put up on a pedestal, and I feel like this is a lot of pressure for him, and he needs to.
Oh no, it's not. No, it's not. Not the way that. Like not the way those mouths be going.
I don't know. He's the chosen one, but he's under the pressure to prove at this point. Like, I don't know why in the AFC game where you had the Chiefs versus the Bengals, they were positioning it as if it was Joe Burrow and another quarterback. Like Patrick Mahomes wasn't even playing in the game. So that is
let's talk a little more about the Burrow head comments. And not only that, but here's the thing that really bothered me about all these losses the Bengals had this year. And here's what I wish we could have got into a few episodes back when we first touched on this. But give me one time where a quarterback does not face accountability when his team loses a game that he causes them to lose the turnover battle with. Oh, no. But according to Bengal fans, Cincinnati media, Bengals Nation, and Bengals period, they're supposed to win that game when you got your cocky quarterback doing that. Mind you, you ripped Josh Allen the whole damn year for doing it. You would have ragged on Jalen Hurts. You would have ragged on freaking... Who else we missing? Oh, no, they ragged on Kenny Pickett. They rag on Lamar Jackson or Deshaun Watson, but your guy does it, and you're supposed to win the game because it's you. And that's the thing. And I'm like, against Patrick Mahomes out of all quarterbacks, your ass chose to lose the turnover battle, and yet it's your fans and your media and your teammates who still believe they're supposed to win that game because of officiating that honestly went both ways for both teams, good and bad. They took away 2 turnovers from Kansas City. They took away a touchdown. 2 things that I felt that would have took that AFC Championship game away.
Absolutely. It was a winnable game. That's why, don't get me wrong. As a fan and as a city, you're supposed to stand behind your team. You're supposed to have this unbelievable faith in your quarterback. So nobody is judging or knocking any fan for that.
I am.
But
I am.
It's a long story, girl. We ain't gonna get
I'm
into
gonna tell you why.
But,
it ain't even because of me being a Steelers fan or anything like that. It's because the only damn time they know accountability is when someone else's quarterback or someone else's team is the topic, and that pisses me the hell off.
And that's understandable. And that's understandable. But do that when you're not playing against Patrick Mahomes. I feel like it was done with a lack of respect for the ability of Patrick Mahomes in that sense. And that was a very winnable game for the Bengals, and they just fell short. So they really have to do some examining and go into the drawing board. Marcel did have another question for us. Do we think that Patrick Mahomes should have been number 1 if he had lost the Super Bowl? Which is a great question, honestly.
I'll say no. I'm going to tell you why. Because if Jalen Hurts was to win that Super Bowl and Patrick Mahomes was to lose, we would not be talking about the Chiefs the way we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City had to win that Super Bowl because they had to once again earn that right for why they are not only the team in the AFC to beat, because that's pretty obvious at this rate, but they are the team in the league to beat. Like there isn't a team that right now on paper that can challenge them. The Eagles is the best shot, and Philadelphia came up short. So I say no. I will put Jalen Hurts number one because the way he played, they should have won that Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But their defense wet the bed, and now we're not talking about Philadelphia the way many would want us to. We're not, because their defense, particularly their secondary, cost them that Super Bowl. They cost them that Super Bowl. You shit the bed, giving up big plays, and it wasn't just Juju and Travis Kelce. It was anybody who Patrick Mahomes could see out there on that football field, with the running backs included.
Yes. And I honestly thought that Kansas City was going to be in trouble early with that missed field goal, because we've seen so many times how missed field goals end up being the deciding points in a lot of matchups. And we already knew or thought, I can say that I was wrong. I said that it would cap at 20 for points for both. It was more of an offensive matchup than defensive, as you have already mentioned. The Eagles defense needed to tighten up a little bit more, but I honestly thought that missed field goal was going to be the undoing of the Chiefs because the game was going to be so close. So yeah, I actually agree with your sentiment on that as well. If Patrick Mahomes didn't win, Jalen Hurts definitely deserved to be number one. If we are talking about season by season, this season, Jalen Hurts definitely played number one ranked quarterback football.
Yeah. Without question. I just don't. The Eagles obviously have more work to do than we think, but they're not going anywhere for years to come. They're not. I don't think they are. And when you have a team like the Eagles, who's still young, who's still electric, who's still physical, still will punch you dead in the mouth, I think just to find a more of a insurance policy in your run game, I think they should invest into another running back. I'll say they could just probably get like one more offensive line just for depth purposes, but they really need to invest more in that secondary because they cost them that game. They're, if anything, at this rate, will hold the Philadelphia Eagles back from winning the Super Bowl. I'm gonna put my money on that secondary because that's the only thing I will have any type of questions about with them heading into this upcoming season in 2023.
Yes. Another question that we got, which is actually parallel to what you just said, was shouldn't the offense share the blame for taking their foot off the gas pedal in the second half? And I honestly think that the Chiefs defense actually stepped up more in the Eagles offense, or other than the offense taking their foot off of the gas. I honestly think they were doing the best they could. Again, Jalen Hurts had incredible numbers. He wasn't throwing it to himself. It's just the Chiefs defense stepped up and they shut it down. So of course, you can't put the full blame. Again, Jalen Hurts did have that fumble that proved costly. So the offense isn't completely blameless, but they're not the first thing that pops in my head when I would have to pinpoint an area that actually cost the Eagles.
Yeah, I agree as well. I actually have to agree with you. I won't blame the Eagles offense because in my opinion, they've done enough to win the game. But your defense cannot wet the bed the way they did. And when they do that, it's going to be hard for any offense to win a game. Whether you are a pee-wee team, a flag football team, a high school team, a college team, let alone an NFL team. When your defense wets the bed the way the Philadelphia Eagles defense did, particularly their secondary, it's going to be extremely hard for anybody, and I mean anybody, to come behind and keep the momentum on their team side and lead them to winning the game. It's going to be extremely hard because it's a team sport. You need a team. A team, particularly in the sport of football, is a secondary. The Eagles secondary wet the bed, and that is the ultimate factor in why they lost the game. You cannot give up chunk plays to Travis Kelce, Juju Smith-Schuster, and guys like that, and give Patrick Mahomes a like what
Any
1.5 to 2 minutes when we know this guy can get the ball out in less than 3 seconds and get a touchdown. You cannot give someone like that all that time in the world to make a play and think he's not going to do it. But when you have a secondary like the Eagles who just wet the bed against anybody, with the running backs included, then it is what it is. I don't blame the offense in Philadelphia at all. They did more than enough to win that game, but their secondary didn't do enough. Not even close. Wet the bed the whole damn 30 minutes left in that game, the whole second half. So when you do that, it's going to be hard. It's hard for anyone to win, especially against a team like the Kansas City Chiefs.
Absolutely. So with that being said, I already know we touched on it a little bit before, but where do we go from here for the Chiefs and the Eagles? We already mentioned that the Eagles have a draft pick in each round coming up on the draft. We already talked about the Eagles having a new OC coming in. We talked about Jalen getting paid. What about the Chiefs? Do we feel like the Chiefs have an opportunity to go back-to-back next year? And if not, why not?
I think so. Okay, we got to think about this for a second. You are the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Who in the AFC do you have to prove yourself to? Nobody. And I think that they're on a mission to finish the mission that they failed to finish last year and the year before that. I think that they really want to create a dynasty in Kansas City that is unforgivable. I really think that they want their names to be mentioned in the same breath as the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Niners, the Raiders, the Packers, the Patriots, and many other dynasties that came along the years in the NFL. And I feel like if it ain't the Eagles, it's them right now who has the best shot because of the team they got, the chemistry, the experience. All of that matters in this league, especially chemistry and experience. Mm-hmm. So when you have all of that in the Chiefs and you have everything, you can have a great shot of repeating. And you know how to beat everybody and their grandmother in an AFC because you've done it already. They're still trying to find ways to beat you. That is going to be hard to figure out with a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes who adjusts everything. Vice versa with his number one man, Travis Kelce. You could definitely have Juju as an insurance policy just in case, Travis get doubled or triple. That'll be moments Juju shine the most. That's the moments he did a lot in Pittsburgh when it was him and AB. And that's what created that static wide receiving duo. You can get a lot of that now in Kansas City because Travis Kelce, to me, as a tight end, is everything. It's arguably what prime AB was as a wide receiver, minus the versatility. Because we understand there was things Antonio Brown did that Travis Kelce just can't do because he doesn't have the athleticism. But the impact, the stats, the physicality, all of that Travis Kelce does bring to the table. And that right there opens up opportunities for guys like Juju if he's back in KC this year to continue along. And it will be hard for a lot of teams to beat because if you think Patrick Mahomes won't look back at the days of AB and Juju in Pittsburgh with Ben and see how Ben neutralized Juju and used Juju when AB was doubled or tripled, if you think Patrick Mahomes would not try any of that, then you're just a damn fool who is asking yourselves to lose by default.
Mm-hmm. And watching Travis Kelce, you almost forget that he's a tight end because he is so versatile. And that is why a lot of opponents have difficulty covering him because you have to be prepared, much like Patrick Mahomes. You have to be prepared for him to do anything. So I see that we have a comment that they need to sign Orlando Brown and Andrew
Agree.
Wiley.
Agree.
So I'm sorry.
Agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If they can't, if they don't have to change anything, I feel like they shouldn't. The only thing I feel like they need to add is, and even though I don't feel like it's a big hole, it proved not to be as big of an issue, clearly, as we wanted to make it out to be. But losing Tyreek Hill, getting someone else comparable to him back on the team just to add that depth to that offense.
But the wide receiving class is deep this year, so
And
they can
it
definitely
is.
stack
And
somebody.
it is.
I would not
They-
be surprised if the Chiefs, and I'm gonna say this right now off the rip, because there are a lot of wide receivers, and Kansas City doesn't have nothing to really lose in this draft, in my opinion.
Mm-mm.
So here's my hot take. Let me just say this. I would not be surprised if the Kansas City Chiefs was to trade up in the 2023 draft and get my guy out of TCU. I would not be surprised.
I would love that, actually. I feel like you said, they don't have anything to lose for real. Anything that they add can be used as a benefit and an asset to them. But it's gutsy, it's ballsy. People will still know that Kansas City ain't here to play. They're not letting up with their foot on your necks just because they got another Lombardi. And it's a bold move. So I am excited to see that. Let's pin that one to the top of the page that we have. So once they do trade up and get that offensive piece, you heard it here first.
Awesome, without question. So now moving forward, moving on, before we have our guests hop on. What are your thoughts so far on the 2022-23 season? And what is your expectations headed into next year, which is 2023 and 2024?
So the 2022-2023 season, the operative phrase that you've been hearing thrown around a lot is, I didn't have that on my bingo card. And that is the literal catchphrase of the 2022-2023 season. Who knew the Detroit Lions would be a serious contender? Who knew that the Jacksonville Jaguars would make the playoffs? Who knew that the Rams wouldn't even sniff the playoffs? Who knew that Russell Wilson would not do shit in Denver? Like, we had so many presumptions and expectations for the 2022-2023 season that throw the whole board away. Who knew? But that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of the game. You never know what's really going to happen. So it was definitely unexpected. I, like many people, up until a certain point, felt like the Bills were going to take it all this year. And they acquired a bunch of powerhouse pieces that really set them over the edge. Unfortunately, they started battling injuries when it mattered the most, and it kind of took them out the game and took everybody, threw everybody off their game a little bit. My hot take is still that we're going to see Josh Allen have a surgery for a torn meniscus or something that's going to be lightly mentioned during the offseason so he can heal. I mentioned before, I think that Josh Allen might be hurt, which has affected his play, and he hasn't said anything. But yeah, 2022-2023 season was full of surprises. In 2024, I am expecting some of those same teams to really shine and really shake it up. Again, the Lions, the Jaguars, the Sean Payton is the new head coach in Denver, and he doesn't play. I would love to see how he works with Russell Wilson and what he draws up and move the pieces on that chessboard to play to their strengths. I'm excited to see Detroit really take control of that division. I'm excited to see actually what moves the Cowboys are going to make to finally get them over that hump. What are y'all going to do in the draft? What are y'all going to do in the season? Like, there are a lot of different pieces. Where is Derek Carr going to end up? He can make a difference on the team still.
Yes, we're going to actually get into that. That's our next topic.
Right.
But
And also, lastly, one last thing. One team we can't ignore for next season, San Francisco. They went through all of their quarterbacks. And before
yes.
they got to their last quarterbacks, they were fighting tooth and nail to the end. They were an amazing team offensively and defensively. So I am excited to see with their rehabilitated squad of quarterbacks what they're going to do in their division.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you hit it right on the note with a couple of things. I think with all of this being said, this season without question has been one for the ages. I think that's the way you sum up the 2022-2023 season. It's been one for the ages. No one had the Jacksonville Jaguars winning the AFC South division, especially making the playoffs. And they did. And like I tell people, here's what people don't get. Especially if the suspension is upheld and he's reinstated. The Jacksonville Jaguars gets Calvin Ridley back. They
Mm-hmm.
also have a top five. They're also top five in cap space available for spending this offseason. They also are pretty good, pretty high in the draft this year. They don't need to be in the top 10 or in the top five. They got enough talent from that. And with all that cap money, with what they saw this year with Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne and them guys, they have people that people would actually believe in. And even as a Steeler fan, so do I.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I tell people this Jaguar team might be different from the previous Jaguar teams because those teams were built around veterans, even though they had their youth. This is pure youth in Jacksonville. Was clearly a team that was built from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be around for at least one another for at least another 1 to 2 years. And believe it or not, with this young talent, with getting Calvin Ridley back most likely this season,
Breakout season.
the
Well,
groove,
this was their breakout season.
everything,
Yeah.
the Jacksonville Jaguars can definitely take on the best of the best in the AFC. And I think with that defense in Jacksonville, especially when healthy, is going to be problematic for years to come. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be a problematic team for years to come, believe it or not. Now you turn back, flip the table over to the LA Rams. I did not expect them to miss the playoffs. I did not. I actually had them to win the NFC West division. Unfortunately, they didn't, but they was cursed with injuries all year round.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Aaron Donald in and out. Jalen was pretty banged up himself. Troy Hill was in and out. Matthew Stafford done for the year. They had to switch out 2-3 quarterbacks to replace him, which understandable because he's an extreme hard name to replace. Then you have Cooper Kupp in and out, then end up being on season IR. So when you have all of that and you have so much to deal with, it's going to be extremely hard if you're the LA Rams.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hard because it's like you can't. Here's the thing. It's so hard to overcome. They don't get me wrong. The Rams did everything that they had to do this offseason. They did everything they had. Last season. Correct me. Last season. They did. They made the moves that they had to make to win the Super Bowl. Now, can it hurt them in the end? Yes. That remains to me to be seen because we gotta make those speculations if this was to happen to a healthy Los Angeles Rams team, and it hasn't. So I'm not ready to write the Rams off because we don't know what they're going to do. Because if anyone can define the term or the question, what is cap space is done. How with a -2 cap space, you get Bobby Wagner out of all people on a $50 million deal for over 4 years. That means you got this guy for at least a little over $12 million for 3 to 4 years in LA with a -2 cap space, with taking on the contracts of Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp. How? So with a team who just finds ways to do things like that with the minimum they're given, I'm not sleeping on this team, especially when healthy. So what do I expect for 2023 other than my Steelers to be back in the playoffs? Is for the LA Rams. My Steelers, of course, to be back in the playoffs, but
Mm-hmm.
the Jaguars to be back in the playoffs as well,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm picking them to win the AFC South Division. But you want to know what else? The LA Rams to be back in the playoffs as well, if
Ooh.
they are to stay healthy, because I cannot write them off if they are not healthy. If they are healthy, it's hard to write them off. Um, it's gonna be hard. So with all of that being said, it's like it's gonna be hard. But yeah, that's my expectations. I expect 2023 with all this craziness that's gonna happen in free agency, and we're gonna be back in time for that.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Along with March Madness, it's gonna be March is gonna be a crazy week in sports. Honestly, it's gonna be. So we're coming back at the right time. But I expect the 2023-2024 season to top 2022 and 2023 with us finally being 2-3 years away from the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect the stadiums to once again be packed because it's going to be a lot. I have a good feeling it's going to be a lot of things to be excited about, practically about every team there is to watch. It's going to be question marks all over the place. And when it's that, it's going to be hard to not watch the NFL. So what I expect 2023 to top 2022, I expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to be back in the playoffs and the LA Rams to be back in the playoffs, and the two teams who made it the previous year and missed last season to be back. Who are my top two teams? The Steelers, Rams. That's what I expect for 2023, 2024.
Do we expect Aaron Rodgers to stay with the Packers?
Yes. Until I hear anything differently, yes, because we heard that crap all last offseason. And next thing you know, we're getting notifications on our phone. Hey, Aaron Rodgers signed the extension deal. And I think it's going to be really hard for the Packers to get out of this and to move on with Jordan Love because of all that they paid Rodgers. And I think, it depends. I think their future is really going to depend on what Jordan Love wants to do and what they really believe he's capable and he's ready to do.
Exactly. And speaking of where does Aaron Rodgers land, some people speculated that he might decide to mosey on over to Las Vegas to be back with his good friend and buddy, Devontae. But
Yes.
I am seeing that Tim is bringing up Baker Mayfield. Do we see him as a starter somewhere next year? That was another
Maybe.
thing on the bingo card that we didn't see for last year. He actually
Maybe.
went to LA as a placeholder and won some games. We were shocked. We were appalled. We were surprised. He is still showing signs of life. And in the right system, Baker Mayfield can make a difference. With a rehabilitated Matthew Stafford, I don't think he will be a starter in LA.
Right.
But keeping him in mind for places like Las Vegas is not out of the question. So with a quarterback thirsty league like it is, I definitely think that he has potential to be a starter somewhere because, stuff happens, injuries happen, and he still showed glimpses that he can be a starter in the right system.
Yeah.
Where does Jalen Ramsey land in 2023? Which is a great question. I honestly think that he stays in LA. The LA is a great market for him. I think he has carved his place in there. I do think that he has. I'm sorry, I keep going in and out. Going on there with them. I think Jalen Ramsey actually stays put. I will really be shocked if he does leave. And I think if he leaves, it's because LA made a trade or forced his hand. I don't think he voluntarily leaves. And also, weren't the Steelers interested in trading for him? I'm not 100% sure about that. Have you heard anything about that?
I mean, I've been hearing rumors, but we got to see. I mean, we got new GMs, we got guys who we know that are interested in that. So we'll definitely wait and see. But we'll definitely get into Derek Carr's injury, but or not injury, but being released. But before we do, we actually have a special guest that's now going to be joining us on the show. So, yes.
How you guys doing?
Gentlemen, we present to you our special guest, Doc Louallen from NBA. He's the digital media writer for the NBA app. He also has great time with being Overtime, ABC, and Philly 17, right?
Yeah, you said hi.
Got it.
This is
Got
the
it.
hardest working man in sports right now. Y'all hear that? Do y'all hear this resume?
Yes.
You better put on, Doc. So we're going to shift gears a little bit here right now, and you're going to bring us some good NBA, the juice, the NBA tea.
Yes.
Definitely have a great time.
Yes. So, Mr. Doc, I think everyone knows who I and Stacy are, but we want to know more about you, your life in sports, your work at Overtime, your time with the NBA, which you're currently at right now, and things like that. And then we can get into some basketball talk.
That's cool. I was born and raised in Harlem, New York. Went to an all-boys Catholic school called Carnegie Hayes High School. That led me to a job. That led me to going to Delaware State University, where I got my bachelor's in mass communications. Led me to my first internship working with the Eagles. That's like a digital platform intern. That's when I learned about posting on social media sites, websites, and I knew I wanted to stay in that lane instead of working at a newspaper. I tried to follow Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless' path of working at a newspaper, but I knew that in this generation that we was moving forward, that newspapers kind of going extinct. So working with social media and being like a digital journalist would help me get to where these guys is at now, even though our paths would be different. My first job actually was at a news station called Newsmax, and that's where I was production assistant. It was hard to get sports jobs out of college because at my HBCU, we wasn't, I didn't go to North Carolina, do one of those journalism big programs that, they see I went to Syracuse and they just give me a job in sports. It don't really work that way. We don't have the same internship opportunity. So I had to really just get my foot in the door through news. So I was doing hard news. Then put that on my resume. That led me to be at Overtime, being a digital content creator. That was my full-time job. I loved it. The environment was great because everybody was my age. My boss was actually 28. I was 24, 23 at the time. So it was a different type of feel having my boss be close to age. So the way we talked was different from how I worked at other jobs when I was younger. COVID happened. That job turned to part-time because, Overtime was not as big as ESPN or the NBA. It was kind of just like a startup. It wasn't a startup, but they just started maybe a 2012. So around this time, this is 2019, 2020. So they kind of still new. So they didn't have the money to pay this new NBA app that we was going on. So I moved to Delaware. New York was getting too expensive during COVID. Moved to Delaware. I wanted to be in the middle between DC, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and New Jersey to get a job anywhere. Wherever the job was going to be at, I was going to apply to and then just travel there from Delaware. Because Delaware, if you don't know, everybody, Delaware was in the middle between those states. Got the job at NBC Sports Washington. That led me, I would have fun there covering the Washington Wizards, the Washington football team at the time, and the Washington Capitals, the hockey team. That led me to a job at PHL 17, where I just ran the entire digital department as a digital content producer there. I was the first digital writer for the team. I did Philadelphia Crime, Philadelphia News, and Philadelphia Sports. Got my first interviewing Tobias Harris, his father, a few plays on the Eagles teams, charity events. That was my first real interview on media and gain connections. That led me to a job at ABC. doing the same thing, but on like a more national scale. And then now I'm at the NBA.
Yeah.
Articles and
We love a good repertoire, honey, and yours is deep. As a fellow content creator by trade and by passion personally, what is your favorite part about digital content creation?
I think I got into it differently. I didn't really know what it was at first. I didn't know about like the issue. I didn't know that was real jobs at first. I honestly, I graduated, that internship with the Eagles put me on to that kind of work. I just thought about being a journalist. I didn't know about the social media manager who runs the Instagram. When you learn that, it's like, then it's like a whole new side of media now. So I think my favorite part is when you post it and see if the fans like it. I just think that's like my favorite part of creating content for social media or digital, like website, and I just like seeing like the interaction with the fans. I even like when they hate it and see their comments to be hilarious. So I love when, like, I posted this trade on Twitter. Nobody believed me, but I love the hate comments. I love it. Like, it just, because it makes you feel like you're somebody now. You got to have some haters with you. So,
but they say if you don't have haters, you ain't doing it right.
That's a fact.
That's a huge fact.
Speaking of NBA trades, we're going to go ahead and get right into it.
Listening. What about it happened already. We passed the deadline. The Kyrie went to the Dallas Mavericks. That was I don't really think it was a surprise to people who, I don't know. I don't know why that trade wasn't rumored. I feel like he was rumored to go to the Lakers and Clippers more than the Dallas Mavericks. But I don't know. I heard about the trade days before. I was just surprised nobody said it. I didn't think I was one of the first people to say it when I first posted it. It wasn't until maybe when the trade actually happened and everybody was like, somebody told me, I was like, damn, that's crazy. I thought people already was on it, that he was going to the Dallas Mavericks, because that was the only spot he could go to. The Lakers was just a requested team, but Sean Marks never wanted to trade him there.
Oh no, speaking of haters. No.
Yeah,
but he's smart. He's smart. You don't want to build a team that you can't potentially beat. Not saying that putting Kyrie with Luka makes a beatable team at all, in the least. When the first thing that Mavericks fans were yelling for was help for Luka, which he definitely got now. I think that the Lakers to Kyrie was more of a fan favorite trade. It's something that we wanted to see. It would have been very special to see Bron and Kyrie back together on the court. Yeah, and
it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't.
Yeah,
it was never no real trade talks between that. The only team he was going to was the Mavericks. At first, see, this is where Sean Marks, to me, and Josiah, one of them, Josiah, the owner, he's not going to lose his job, of course, because he is the owner. But Sean Marks, to me, he should probably get fired, because you blew the ball when you traded Kyrie to Dallas. You got Vinny Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie. You thought your team was going to compete with KD, but you didn't anticipate KD requesting a trade right after. So now you kind of got your team in the middle pack, and you didn't try to go after another star after you traded KD. So you traded KD for Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges. They good, but those aren't.
They don't equal up.
Yeah, they not
that you lost.
Anytime you trade a star, you need to get a blue chip guy back, or like level who could be potential into a star later on, like a young guy, or you could get multiple first round picks. They got neither. They didn't really get anything that they could, because those first round picks they got from Phoenix, they're going to be high regardless. They're not going to be top 5. So you didn't really get anything for KD. You got solid players. I love Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, but they more complimentary players. Neither of them are going to be stars. Like, come on, we can see it.
Role players, absolutely.
Right. So he kind of put his own team and predicament where they got 12 of the same type players. There's no real leader on the team. And then you got Coach Vaughn. I still like Ben Simmons, but I know a lot of people don't. They got Coach Vaughn. He don't want to play Ben Simmons. Yeah, I stick up for
you got to think about it, though. Like, Ben Simmons has been in and out with injury. Like, the injuries has been catastrophic. Don't get me wrong, but
he's in and out with injuries, but most of his injuries is really his head. He just blames it on his back, but he just don't want it. he doesn't feel he was ever appreciated on this team. Because the first position they put him at was center. He never played center day in his life. Already put Ben Simmons at center. He's not a center. He plays point guard. He played point guard. He was a 6'10" point guard in Philly. They made the second round, and he was supposed to be a 6'10" point guard with the Nets. But instead, you put him at point center, and that doesn't work for him. So you put him uncomfortable, took the ball out of his hands, and you tell him to post up. Ben Simmons is not a post up guy, so he was in a bad victim anyway. So the team is just the Brooklyn Nets is a mess, man.
It is. But either way it goes, this is now Ben Simmons' time to, one, advocate for himself, and two, shine. Like, he is the
word he said, advocate. He doesn't speak up for himself. That's what he needs to do. He don't speak up for himself. That's the problem. He didn't speak himself in Philly or now. So, but you're right. Advocate, the perfect word.
I agree with that.
And he's the name now on the team, and he has potential to be the face. So what you gonna do with the Ben? Like, either you gonna step up and be great, or you just continue with what you were doing. But also, going back to the KD point, how, as a Nets owner and GM, you did not anticipate KD requesting a trade when he has been trying to leave Brooklyn for over a year? How do you miss that? Where were your antennas? And after Kyrie left, which we never really know the truth behind what their relationship really is. The media kind of wants to pit them against each other for one reason or another, and test the bounds of their friendship. But KD clearly didn't want to stay. He was trying to leave when he didn't know whether or not Kyrie was going to stay or not. So the front office and the back office being unprepared or having a backup plan if and when KD was potentially going to go is completely on them. They should have gotten a much better outcome from that trade than what they did. So I was really disappointed by that.
Yeah. Sorry, Doc. Before you get involved in that, I said this when we first heard the trade, the last episode, was that the only thing that the Nets got out of that KD trade, in my opinion, is half empty of a cheap bag of chips with the most nastiest juice you can get from a corner store. That's really what I felt that they got, because it's like, who did you get and what did you get with it? You can't trade a once in a lifetime talent like Kevin Durant and get nothing. You got to come with something, or at least something that's either going to put you in position to compete and win now, or is going to, set you up to, win now or win then in the future. The Nets did not do any of that. And it's just, I don't understand. And then the owner just walking around arrogant. If you're going to do stupid things like that, then you should have just shot Kyrie to the Lakers. But I understand why he didn't, because you don't want to give a player what he wants. And I think it would have been, even as a Laker fan, would have been completely foolish of the Nets to trade Kyrie to LeBron James with Kevin Durant and them guys. I mean, not Kevin Durant, correct me. Anthony Davis and LeBron sitting right there. I think that would have been foolish, but it would not have been foolish for the Lakers to invest, because when you got guys like LeBron who's aging and you got guys like AD, you need to win as much as you can now. But back to you, Doc. Your show now.
Nah, everything you said was correct. The only thing I would say is, you see how you said that you don't want to trade him to the Lakers because you don't want to make that team better, or you want to have to play them, or you don't want to give him what you want. But the Sean Marks gave KD what he wanted. He traded him to the Phoenix Suns without even taking Chris Paul or Ayton. So he blessed.
They didn't have to.
Yeah. Or Devin Booker. I would have got Devin Booker.
Yeah. See, but that's the thing. It was more off I hate Kyrie, but I don't hate KD. So you messed up your own team. This is why Sean Marks, whoever's in charge of that trade, is insane, because you contradicted yourself in both trades. You made it seem like you was competing with the first trade. I like the first trade, but now I don't like the first trade now that you traded KD as if you're rebuilding. And that KD trade, it doesn't align with your first trade. So it's like now you got nothing with trading 2-3 stars. You got nothing with the Harden trade now, because you don't play Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons on the way out, and Steph Curry always in and out the lineup. Andre Drummond left. The Dallas Mavericks trade now becomes like, okay, like since Vinny is your best player in your team now. So now it's like you kind of traded to get Spencer Dinwiddie and Kyrie. You got Mikal Bridges and Cam Thomas, but these guys are all the same line of play. They're all just solid players. Also about KD though. Listen, I don't know how people feel about KD. I'm not really. He kind of a head case. I thought he loved basketball. He got his own. He owns his own company called Boardroom, right? They talk about he knows that KD swears he knows more basketball than analysts, journalists. He knows more basketball than anybody. You wanted to lead to go to the Sun so bad, but it's kind of like a one and done. You got CP3 and old. CP3 died out in the playoffs last year out of nowhere when they played the Mavs. He killed the round before, but then he played the Mavs and just turned into what happened to him. That might happen again. It will happen again this play because the older you get, whenever it's time for you to stop playing ball, it's going to happen. DeAndre Ayton and Monte Williams already argued last year. DeAndre Ayton was on a trade block this trade deadline, but they didn't trade him because they got KD out of nowhere. He was going to go. Ayton was going to go to Dallas, but they wound up keeping Ayton because they didn't have to trade Ayton to acquire KD. So you never know. If you don't win the championship this year, Ayton might be out by this summer. They didn't want to sign Ayton last summer, but they had to because he was a restricted free agent. And by the way, he was going to go to Minnesota. He was going to go to not Minnesota. He was going to go to Utah for Rudy Gobert, but Utah got a better deal with Minnesota. So now you stuck with Ayton, but you want to trade him, and now you in this mess where you got old Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton who don't want to beat it. So if you don't win this year, you don't know how your team going to look next year. So you could have just played with Brooklyn, played out the season, see what happened. Go to the summer and you want to request a trade, then you request a trade and pick your team. But he rushed the gun. He did it so quietly. He slick. He did it quietly, but I think if you don't win this year, he gonna be definitely mad because this summer the Suns got a lot of questions to answer. A lot of questions.
Yes. So in your opinion, what is the best team that KD could have joined if he wasn't in such a rush to leave Brooklyn?
The only reason that's a hard question only because I want to see what happens this playoffs. The playoffs always tell everything. Teams always think they're better than what they are before the playoffs. And then after playoffs, you come to reality. So last year, the Pelicans felt like, oh yeah, we would never trade what's his name? Brandon Ingram for KD. We're not trade. They said it last year because they were so confident in their team this year. Now they probably rethinking that, like, damn, we would have had
KD. Right.
Yeah. So I think this year, a team like the Pelicans, who would have got humbled to get in the playoffs, would have been like, okay, we would trade Ingram from KD. So he could have been the Pelicans is a better, complete, younger team for KD because you got Zion, you got CJ, you got Valanciunas, you got a lot of Herb. Well, Herb Jones probably would have never been on the team. Probably got traded with Herb Jones and Trey Murphy, but you would have got Ingram off. But still, you would have had KD. That would have been in a potential great place. He could have probably joined Portland because Jeremiah Grant wants out. So if you would offer Jeremiah Grant a couple picks and maybe the young guy, what's the young point guard on their team name? I forgot his name. The young point guard. Damn, I forgot his name.
Portland?
Yeah, in Portland. You guys know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about, but I cannot remember his name.
Yeah, he starts. Damn, I forgot his name. Anthony Simons. So if they would have traded him, and you could have been with Dame, so it would have been like you could have paired up with better. It's not saying Devin Booker is good, but come on, Devin Booker needed Chris Paul to get over the hump, and Chris Paul's getting old, so we don't know how Devin Booker going to. And Devin Booker is like a pearl scorer. He doesn't do anything else other than score the basketball, honestly. So he doesn't really play good D. He don't really get assists like that. You got him and KD kind of like the same plays, just like how Kyrie and KD was kind of like the same plays and they didn't really work. So I think he need to be with like a true point guard and Dame or a team like with Zion who don't need the ball and you just play freely. He could have been one of those teams. So I just feel like he could have waited and it would have been a better opportunity. I don't think the Suns the best opportunity. This is their best year to win. This is the best year for the Suns to win. Everything after this was going to get tougher and tougher for them.
And honestly, I just want to add, I don't even think they're going to win this year. I don't. It's hard for me to look at the Suns, even with Kevin Durant, Because here's my question: with all the KD's gonna have to carry on that Suns team, because to me they're not as good as everyone think they are.
Yeah.
What if Kevin Durant gets hurt? Then who we're gonna be looking at?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
team wasn't that good even this year. If you think about it, they was what, 7th seed. Devin Booker did get hurt, but they team couldn't really fell off. They team been falling off ever since they were so cocky. They made that finals. And have you really watched they always been like falling off, falling off. They lost Jay Crowder, who was a big part of their team. They lost a lot of pieces that was a big part. Mikal Bridges is a big part of their team. Ken Johnson, a big part. So they all the guys who really was like the low key guys to kill in the playoffs, they got rid of. So we'll see.
Because who's playing defense now for the Suns? Ayton truly doesn't do it. Even in the finals, he was like, I'm like, you are the softest center I have seen in a while, sir. Like, what are you doing?
It wasn't just him. The whole team wet the bed in the finals. That whole team wet the bed.
Yeah,
somebody. And honestly, I feel like if they can improve their defense, especially in those situations when it comes like to the playoffs, I kind of touched on this on the last episode, but with Chris Paul being the conductor and moving about the pieces in the chemistry on the court, I don't think the Suns are going to win the championship, but I feel like they do drastically improve their chances with KD because they were missing that piece. When Chris Paul went out, or when he started playing crazy, they said his thumb was hurt or whatever. The team felt it. So they need someone else that is experienced in those crunch time moments, that doesn't have a problem stepping up and doing what needs to be done. That's more reliable with making those buckets for when, can't say if, but when Chris Paul falls out. I don't know what the league has against him. I don't know what he did to the spirits or the ancestors. Somebody has it out for him. But in any event, KD would be very supplemental in those cases. So, like you said, if they're going to do anything, it's going to be this year.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that it's going to be this year.
They got better. I'm not going to disagree. I got them coming out the West this year. I can see
Suns coming out the West.
I can see it. When you look at the West, it's like a lot of teams in the West be overrated, man. They overrate the West every year with these teams. See, I got to see, the biggest competition would have been Golden State. Now that they injured, Denver got to prove it to me. Denver is the only team in the NBA, right? I swear to God, I've been watching basketball heavily since like 05, 04. Ever since then, they were always the same team that, watch out for Denver, watch out, and they never make it nowhere. I swear to God, they have a good, solid team. They had Gallinari, Iguodala, Wilson, Chandler one year. Oh, watch out for Denver. Denver's a tough team. Come on, they always be a tough team. Carmelo years, they always a tough team, but they don't get over the hump. So it's like, even when they had Jamal Murray in the bubble, watch out for Denver next year. You can't. 2021, Denver they don't come out. Like I'm not saying nothing about Denver until they actually make the finals. They haven't made the finals ever since I've been watching basketball. Ever since I've been watching basketball, they're always a team that everybody they watch out for. They never make it. Just do it. I don't believe in Denver.
Cowboys of the West.
Yeah, Memphis. Memphis need more. Now Memphis need more. I think Memphis is in deep trouble now, and Memphis need a lot more.
Josh should have shut his mouth. He should have hushed. He should have just said that.
The Pelicans, I like the Pelicans, but they stay injured. I just don't know about them. I think the Pelicans got the best team, like overall. I feel like they got everything. I feel like KD will definitely benefit them over. I feel like KD is a huge upgrade over Brandon Ingram. He should have waited. That would have been a perfect team for KD to go to. But now it's just they stay injured. I don't know about the Pelicans. The Lakers might not even make the playoffs. They got to win 16 out of 24 games to make the playoffs. That's a tough ask. I don't know how the Lakers are going to make the playoffs. And the other competition, the Dallas Mavericks don't play any defense. They lost 3 in a row just now. They score a lot of points, but they don't play D. So it's like I don't know what to make of the West right now. I don't know who will be their hardest competition other than Denver, and I just don't believe in Denver right now. Denver just got to make the finals. I don't know. I don't believe in Denver.
I agree. And it wasn't until you brought it up that I didn't realize until I realized, like, you are absolutely correct. I always hear Denver, 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 Denver every off season. And by the end of the season, I'm really forgetting about them. Like, I'm seriously forgetting about them. So, the West is going to be very interesting. It's literally going to come down to the end. I definitely thought the Grizzlies were going to be a high contender to come out of the West, and then all of this talent moved to the West. So we will definitely see.
Definitely.
Okay, so before we let you go, Doc, you go about your great day. Who is your pick? Who would be your early pick in the NBA Finals this year?
In the West, I would pick the Suns right now.
I'm gonna hold you to it.
Yeah, I want to see the Suns. I want to see the Suns together with KD. You know, he just has press conference today getting introduced. It was a fun little press conference to watch. But right now, I got the Suns. I think KD has to be determined. KD legacy's on the line. This is his legacy now. This is more than just. Even though KD's not going to admit it, his legacy is on the line. If he doesn't win a championship in Phoenix, his ranking in terms of all time being top 15, he's not top 15 no more, and his rankings of being top 20 would be highly debatable because you will have people like 10 years from now, you might say Giannis has to be over him. You might say Jokic be over him. You might have to put Luka over him. I'm talking about 10 years from now. Luka, Kawhi, like these are guys who aren't currently over him now on all-time rankings. But what if Luka win a championship? What if Giannis get another one? What if Jokic win a championship? What if Kawhi win another championship? Like, you know, these guys all have better. Kawhi to me got a better resume than KD now. His Toronto ring was a big ring for him, and he won 2 Finals MVPs. So these guys in 10 years could surpass KD if he never won another ring, because people look at his Golden State rings as pretty bad. So I feel like this is big for KD. So he has to win. He knows that he's 35 now. He doesn't know how he's going to be 2 years from now, next year. So I think the Suns, I motivated KD. The East is tough, man. I think the East really, that's why KD really wanted to get traded, because he didn't want to play Giannis and Tatum. See, that's why people be running from the East. You got 2 teams in the Sixers who tough. They play that defense, and you know it's hard to guard Embiid, it's hard to guard Tatum, it's hard to guard Giannis. So that's a tough. In between those 3 teams, I would slide more with Boston, only because I don't know that I don't know. I can't. I don't know. Boston, Milwaukee. I can't pick one. Who y'all guys got? I mean, you can motivate me. But it's between Boston, Milwaukee. Philly going to lose second round to anybody, so it doesn't matter.
Yikes!
Right. Who do we have out of the East or the West?
Say it again.
Who do we have out of the East or the West?
Who she said? Who I have coming out? Going both to the finals? I said the Suns, and I said the East. I can't pick. It's between the Boston Celtics and Milwaukee. Who you guys got coming out the East?
I say the Celtics, East? Honestly.
Yeah, I'm gonna just take. It's either them. I could say Miami, but I don't know. But I'm definitely going to say the Celtics right now for safer bet.
Yes, but the Celtics went through a whole coaching change, and it's like they didn't miss a beat. So they're only going to continue to get better. So that is why I feel they're a genuine contender, barring any serious injury, because you know all it takes is one, and your whole season will topple. But outside of that, yes.
But West, on the other hand, depends on how Kyrie plays and which Kyrie we're getting. I'm gonna pick the Mavericks because
Kyrie gonna be doing Ramadan by the time that happens. He's gonna be hungry, tired, just like last year. He played one good game. I don't know about this.
I tell you why I picked the Mavs. It's because where they were last year, and now that they got that experience, they did lose 3 people that could come back to haunt them. But because of where they are last year, and with Luka's ability to make everyone around him better, and they did get a big man this year, we can definitely now see the Mavericks playing semi-better defense than last year. Now, do I got to win in the finals? No, but with the way the West looks, their experience, with the way Luka's just playing phenomenal basketball, I think the Mavericks will be the team to get hot around the right time and make a run. But I definitely get your take on the Suns because of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and them guys can definitely get hot like they did 2 to 3 years ago and make a run as well. The Warriors is definitely up in the air right now with injuries and things like that. I don't believe in the Nuggets either because for some reason they just find a way to choke it up at the wrong times. I don't know what's going on and I don't know what's in that water there in Denver, but they need to take it out. And yeah, so right now I got the Mavericks and I got the Celtics in the NBA Finals.
And Malachi Washington agrees with you. He says Dallas or nothing. And Alan Bailey, bless his heart. Thank you so much for your comment, Alan. He says the Lakers are coming out of the West and the Knicks are coming out of the East. That is not a name. That is not a team name that we hear associated with winning much in the East. And no disrespect, no shade, no tea to your team, Alan. If no one else cheers for them, you better cheer for them. But I'm sorry, I am not inclined to agree with that. But somebody has to believe in them. So thank you. Thank you for your comment.
Yeah, that's a long shot.
Yes. I mean, we've seen stranger things happen. I mean, that's the longest of shots, but we've seen stranger things happen. And before we wrap up with you, I'm not sure how much longer you're going to stay on. Do you think that Russell Westbrook stays in Utah?
No, he's gonna get brought out. He should just request a buyout right now, and just go to the team he want to go to, which is the Clippers. His bags is still there in LA. Let's go to the Clippers. That's where he wants to be. So I think he gets brought out, and he doesn't even like Utah. Why would he play in a city where he talked bad about his whole career? When they did the racist stuff towards him, he said Utah is a racist. Come on, he can't be in Utah. There's no way. It's a contradiction for them to even trade for him. That's why it was hilarious. After he talked bad about the city, he can't really live in Utah. He probably will walk around. People probably gonna throw their middle finger up at him. So yeah, he should just run out of himself. But if he stays, then hey, I don't know. Then I guess he got thick skin.
Or even though I would find this hard to believe, another team doesn't want to trade for him, which would be an even spicier story. I did bring up before that Russ has been to a few teams in the past couple of years after he signed that big contract with the Thunder. So is not KD, I'm so sorry. Sorry, KD. Is Russell Westbrook really the problem on all of these teams? Or what do you feel like is the discontention here between him and the team? Is it chemistry? Is it just the office? Is it really set up for him to win? Why do you feel that Russell is getting shuffled everywhere?
Well, so about the trade thing, he can't get traded. He can't get traded. He got to get brought out. So they got to pay that $44 million, and then he becomes a free agent. So he could sign anywhere. So I mean, this time he could be a free agent. He won't get traded this time, so he get to pick who wants him this time. So hopefully that happens. But I think what's not working out is, I think that's just media propaganda. I think like the Lakers thing, he came off the bench. He wasn't part of the Lakers' problems, honestly, because he came off the bench when he was starting, probably, but he wasn't the best fit for that team. You know, the best fit for Russell Westbrook to play with a guy like Jimmy Butler in Miami. He needs to have like a culture already set that's going to make him play a certain way. Like I think Russell Westbrook is kind of like Ben Simmons, where they need good coaching, a culture for them to fit in. You can't like Westbrook is like wow, and then Ben Simmons is kind of like, okay, I'm here. I'm just going to do what I'm told to do. You know, so yeah. That really doesn't work. Those personalities don't really work on winning basketball teams. You know, you need to be coached well. You need everybody to be on the same page and buy in. And then when you got Westbrook, who's kind of like more erratic, he needs to be on a team like Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler's going to say, yo, that turnover right there, don't ever do that again. You need somebody who's going to be on him and talk to him like his man's. Like he need like a kind of like a AAU type culture for himself to understand basketball. A coach like, well, Pat Riley's not the coach, but he kind of still run things. He needs just a culture around him that's going to keep him intact and tell him what to do. So he needs like the Miami Heat. Like that'd be like the perfect team for him. He went to the Wizards. It was a rebuild situation with Bradley Beal. That was never going to work. He was with OKC. Everybody left him. They blamed him. But Was he really the problem in OKC? The team did make the NBA Finals. In LA, that was just never a good fit. In LA, he never matched him and LeBron can't play with each other. You know that didn't even make sense on paper. So I feel like a team like Miami Heat. Miami Heat's the perfect team. Like culture, they big on Heat culture. That's what they call themselves. You got Pat Riley, you got Jimmy Butler, you got and you got Eric Spoelstra, who's a good underrated good coach. So I think he fits in well. I think he should sign with Miami. If that do happen. He'd fit in well. He could be the scorer that they kind of need because they don't really got anybody to score. They got Jimmy Butler doing everything, and then you got the other guy. What's the shooter name? Tyler Hero.
Tyler Hero, yeah,
who's like a kind of a scorer, but he died out in playoffs. So you need Westbrook. I think that would be a great move for Westbrook as the Miami Heat.
Yeah, him and Jimmy Butler with Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, one about to come off the bench.
Yes, our audience is agreeing with that as well. Who knows? Like, I'm pretty sure he has examined all of his options as well, and he might be making a play for that if the Heat are willing to take on that price tag, $44 million and to sneeze at. I'm not sure where they are with their how much money they have, how much cap space they have to move around to accommodate that. But as if the East needs any more competition, that would definitely make it interesting.
The Heat got to do something. They got to ramp it up, man. The Heat. The low key move was Jay Crowder going to Milwaukee. I think that was a low key move because he helps their team. He could be a 3-and-D guy for them, and that's a big plus when you play in Boston. So I think you got to get better. And the Miami Heat, if they could get Russell Westbrook, it would be great for them. But you got to get better. The Sixers too. I feel like the Sixers try to get better. They got Jalen McDaniels, so hopefully we'll see what happens with that. I don't really like Philly that much, man. I don't know. They're accident waiting to happen. So they just in the playoffs they just lose to anybody.
Yeah, definitely got the short end of the stick for the last few playoffs. Let's not forget that my Hawks had a little hand in that. I'm sorry.
You're a Hawks fan?
I am. I'm an Atlanta native, so we're hanging in there. We're hanging in there in the East. Again, the East is very stiff, and I am a true fan, but I'm also realistic. So we yet going to extend hands forth towards the team and pray for them. But we're just gonna enjoy the ride.
Yeah, good luck with the Hawks, man. They disappointed me this year. I thought they was going to be different with DeJounte Murray.
Listen, we don't have another 4 hours to talk about that. So maybe next time.
All right. That's all we have for you right now, Doc. But guys, please thank Doc for joining us on this show to speak more about NBA. We hope this is not the last of this because we're going to need more of this back up here. As the season does get hot, March Madness is on its way. He can definitely help us out with that. Please give this man a follow on Twitter at Louallen Doc and on Instagram at MostLoveDoc. Please give this guy a follow.
Thank you for having me. This is nice. I love the graphics you did on my picture. Everybody was hitting me up like, "Oh, this is fire! How she did that?"
Thank you. Just tell me hit your girl up.
Yeah, she's definitely gifted and crafty with it.
Thank you. All right, Doc. See ya.
Thanks, Doc.
See ya. Have a good day.
You too. All right. So we're just going to wrap up this final segment of this episode, getting to some really hot topic. That was once again Doc Louallen from NBA. He is a digital sports writer. So once again, give him a follow on Twitter at Louallen. And you can Louallen Doc. I need to stop doing that. And give him a follow on Instagram at MostLoveDoc. All right. So now moving forward to a real hot topic, which is the Las Vegas Raiders finally cut ties with quarterback Derek Carr.
Yes.
I think this is a topic that's just been buzzing for weeks now because everyone was wondering what would the Las Vegas Raiders do with Derek Carr, and was they going to trade him? Was they going to release him? What was they going to do? And obviously he did not want to be traded. So unfortunately, they had to cut him because there was just no other way they could trade him and not do
Right.
things right.
Right.
So it's like, out of respect, they gave him what he wanted, which was to be released from the Raiders. But now lies the question of, where is he going to land next? Because there's a lot of teams that can use him right now. The North Carolinas, your Atlanta Falcons. Some fool on Fox talk about my Pittsburgh Steelers. Not happening. Not happening. That's why we drafted Cam, and we're good with who we with. And I don't think Derek Carr wants to be a backup. So Beyonce's voice to the left, to the left. Thank you. Honestly, the whole NFC South division can use Derek Carr right now.
Literally anyone in
you
the
don't have
NFC
a quarterback anywhere unless
yes,
you're going to give Desmond Ritter a chance, which I definitely, or Spencer Rattler. I forgot which one of those quarterbacks I got, but if you want to give him a chance, you could bring Derek Carr in though for an insurance policy.
Yes, absolutely. And literally any team, throw it up, put a name in the hat. Tom Brady's gone out in Tampa Bay. You have Sam Darnold in Carolina, which you didn't have confidence in the first place because you brought Baker Mayfield in and that didn't work out. So you sent him away. The Falcons was just out here going on vibes when it came to quarterbacks last year. So and the Saints, who actually tried to acquire Derek Carr and he politely turned them down. He respectfully declined. So anybody in the NFC South literally can get him. And I honestly feel, especially with all of the controversy surrounding Josh Wilson, the Jets might actually be a very good place.
Zach Wilson, hold on, you just got the man name wrong. But yeah, go ahead.
Zach Wilson, I'm sorry. I was thinking about Josh Wilson. Zach Wilson. With everything that was going on with him, it's already known that he doesn't have great team chemistry. They're not really rocking with him. Mike White came in and did a fantastic job, but he's still a backup. So I feel that Derek Carr can actually go to New York Jets and make a difference. I think that Zach Wilson's time is done in the Jets. So anywhere in the NFC South, and the Jets are my pick.
Yeah. So Green Bay, if they trade Aaron Rodgers, is what Tim said. I'm gonna go, but 49ers, someone said
49ers has 13 quarterbacks. Like,
I mean, that's actually pretty true because it's like, think about it. I'm like, think about it. And he is from California, as stated. So that's actually pretty true, though. You think about it because you're unsure about Brock Purdy. You're not. You moved on to you moved on from Jimmy G, and then you turn right back around, and Trey Lance is still questionable with his injury, even though it did come out that he should be good to go by training camp or OTAs,
right?
But it's still question marks. Can he lead San Fran to the promised land?
Right.
Derek Carr used this fresh start because be like, I'm going back
right
to
Cali. And I get
definitely do that. So that's actually a good suggestion.
And the only reason why I say no is because they were willing to go all in on Trey Lance last season before he got hurt. I think they want to give him a chance without a larger quarterback or a more experienced quarterback over him, overshadowing his chance to develop and grow. So that is the only reason why I think that they wouldn't take on Derek Carr to sit on the bench. They've already shown that they want to be more invested in Trey Lance. Brock Purdy has proved more than worthy of being a great starter, let alone a backup, depending on which way they go. we have learned last year with them, you can technically never have enough quarterbacks because they clearly ran out. But I think that with what they're working with, that they probably wouldn't take on Derek Carr for that. But I, again, could understand why they would, because they need a quarterback. I just operate under the assumption that Jimmy G is never going to be there because they were trying like hell all last season to get rid of him anyway. So, so that is the only reason why I don't think that the 49ers would be a serious contender.
I can see it going either way. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't because the current quarterback situation and the beliefs within them. But I can also see why they would because of the current quarterback situation within the injuries and question marks about every last one of their plays on a consistent basis, even though Brock Purdy, without question, showed promise. And there's nothing we could take away from him. He's 7-1 as a starter. He was the last pick in his, arguably in his draft class. So with all of that being said, it was a lot that he had to overcome. And he did not expect to come in and start right away. He probably was a guy who was drafted for death or something. You know what I mean? So when you have roster depth and you're drafted for that, then it's like an underdog story. But Derek Carr could use a fresh start in San Fran. It's very slim he'll be somewhere in LA because Justin Herbert and Matthew Stafford both coming back this year, especially Stafford off that injury. But I don't see the LA Rams bringing Derek Carr in for a backup, and I don't see him starting over Matthew Stafford in LA. That's out. There's a reason why they gave up the 3 firsts to Detroit for him. And it was more than just to win that Super Bowl. It's because they truly believe that Matthew Stafford could take them at least for the next 4 to 5 seasons to come. And I think that's exactly the route they're going to take unless Stafford in his health shows you differently, which still remains to be seen for the season.
Yeah. And it's going to get even more interesting because franchise tags start going out very soon. And that's when teams' real feelings. So in intentions with the franchise tag. And before we move on, Alan brought up a very good point. It very much depends on what Lamar Jackson does. A lot of different things are hinging upon that. Like if you have to make moves to be competitive, if you're 49ers, you're right. You're going to go get Derek Carr because let's just say Lamar could essentially go anywhere. I think there are a lot of teams that would give up a lot to get Lamar. Namely, I've seen pictures of him in a Falcons jersey. And you know what you would be able to tell me if we got Lamar to come to Atlanta? Nothing.
I don't blame you. That's actually, I wouldn't even be surprised if Lamar Jackson goes to the Atlanta Falcons.
Yes.
I would not be surprised at all if Lamar Jackson was to go to Atlanta. If the Ravens don't pay him, I wouldn't be surprised because honestly, I don't see a culture nor a better team that would be a better fit for him. You could say Philadelphia, but you're not shopping Jalen Hurts. And Lamar Jackson is not going to be no backup. So bye-bye, Philly.
And the Falcons.
And I don't want Washington because they have habits of screwing up people's careers. It's like, no. Even as a Steeler fan, I wouldn't want to see that because I don't hate Lamar Jackson. I just hate who the hell he plays for. That's it. That's the only thing I hate. And that's really the story with me with all Raven players. I don't hate them. I just hate who the hell they play for and the fact that they're damn Ravens. That's what I hate. But the culture down there in the ATL, the people down there in the ATL, the way the Falcons offenses, some of their best offenses outside of 2016, the way they ran was built for mobile quarterbacks. Quarterbacks that can get out the pocket, quarterbacks that can throw on the run, quarterbacks that can make plays even when they're not there to be made.
Right.
No player to me defined that in the past 4 to 5 seasons than Lamar Jackson. No offense to me defines that better when it's at its best than the Atlanta Falcons. And when you do that, the run game gets open. You guys already got a couple of good weapons and Drake London and others down there. Lamar got more weapons right now if he was to go to the ATL. First of all, the cap space. So the money's there.
Yep.
Then the weapons. Your defense is not that bad. You just in the retool moment, rebuild load. So they need more time to develop. They got the money to not only, first of all, they got already all the pieces except for offensive line, but you can build that in the draft. And you don't have to be a win now mode team. If you get a talent like Lamar Jackson in the ATL, you got receivers. You just need another tight end. Buff up that offensive line. Make some more moves in free agency. You got the money. It's right there.
We tried to give it to Deshaun.
You can make some noise in the ATL. I don't see why anyone or any black quarterback, if the opportunity's there with the weapons that's there in Atlanta, with as vulnerable as the NFC South division is now, especially with the Bucs losing Tom Brady to retirement, I don't see no better opportunity than Lamar Jackson going to the Baltimore Ravens while still, not to the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson going to, I don't see a better opportunity than Lamar Jackson going to the Atlanta Falcons while still getting his money and possibly in playoff contention because the division's trash. He's by default going to be the best quarterback because no other team has some quarterbacks. And then the icing on top of the cake, you got the better weapons. You arguably got the better running game. Your offensive line is there. The coaching's there. They just need a quarterback, and then they could see what else they could build around them. Lamar Jackson has that. Lamar Jackson's finally going to get a receiving core that he has not had in Baltimore. Hence the reason why people are sitting here saying, if you're not going to pay him his money, at least give him a good reason within the team.
Exactly.
The Falcons, though, have that opportunity right in front of him, can be like, hey, here's your money. Here's your weapons. Come here and let's go to work. And I don't see no better culture personally and football-wise that will be a better fit for Lamar Jackson than the Atlanta Falcons, especially if the Baltimore Ravens does not pay him his money.
Exactly. And you said everything. Listen, look at you paying attention to my squad. I feel so good, girl. You said
I pay attention to everybody, Scott. I'm Shane Max Sports for a reason. I pay attention to everything.
Yes, being a business girl, I love it. But like you said everything. I don't even have to repeat it. I was going to say we were going to give all that money to Deshaun, so I know we have it to give it to Lamar. So again, I said it last episode. Delayed does not mean denied. There was a reason we did not get Deshaun. It could have been to get Lamar. Lamar better become on Magic City Mondays. Lou Will already got lemon pepper Lou wings there. We can name some wings after you. We can get you an Amigos video. Well, on the video with Quavo, whatever we need. And you're right. This is definitely a supportive culture for him to thrive in, which is a very important factor that a lot of people tend to forget. That you need that support, and the city would definitely show him love. So I mean, y'all show him my campaign video. What I need to do, just email it to him. Come to Atlanta. We love you, Lamar.
Listen, if the Ravens don't pay him, I would not be surprised if Lamar Jackson is an Atlanta Falcon heading into 2023. I would not be surprised. I don't see a better fit. I don't see it. Like, the culture, his mobility, his style of play, his mobility that comes within it, the way he likes to run offenses, the weapons that will allow it, the run game, the offensive line that can arguably be more sufficient than the O-line he has in Baltimore. And not only that, but by default, you definitely saw more versatility in the Falcons offense last year than you saw in the Ravens offense last year. Now, defensively, you could definitely argue, but they can get some couple of pieces. And there's plenty in free agency this year, which we're definitely going to talk about in the next episode, the next time we come live, or if we, we're going to do this again. No question. But
and my closing statement is it would literally be his team. We're in full rebuild and we have the cap space. So we have those young weapons. We can get more to support him. It will literally be his team. And that's all I got to say. Lamar as a Falcon, 23, 24, we gonna make it happen. You heard it here first.
Yes, I would not be surprised by it, but that's all we have right now. We have to close out because we got daily lives to run. We got the stuff to run. So as much as we love to stay, we gotta go. But this has been the Mike Bomb Podcast. Your host, May Shayla, your host, Stacey J. Kayla, unfortunately, couldn't make it for another episode. Hopefully, by the time we do this again, she'll be back. But if not, we'll welcome her back without question, open arms. Anyway, once again, the Mike Bomb Podcast, your host, Shay, co-host, Kayla. Stacey, sorry for that, girl. That's how you know it's time for us to get off. I'm messing with Mike.
We love all y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Be good to yourself and each other.
Yes, we're out. See ya. Welcome to the Mike Bomb Podcast, the podcast where the bombs get thrown. Thank you for tuning in to the latest episode. This is your host, May Shayla, exiting out. But before I do, I would like to take the time to thank everyone who has subscribed, followed, and listened to the podcast, and for your overall support and love. If you are interested in getting more news and updates about the podcast, such as new episodes, new seasons, you can now subscribe and follow the podcast on your favorite platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora Radio, Google Podcasts, and much more. Or you can visit www.themikebomb.com for news updates within your favorite sport leagues, along with more news about the podcast. Thank you for your support, and see you next episode.
This is my night, this is my pain, this is my life, this is what I was born to do, I was born to do, every new day, every new night, every new stage, every new fight, this is what I was born to do, I was born to do, fall to my knees every night and I pray, asking Lord let him hear.